Hey, thanks for stopping in for another real-time edit. I wanted to see what we can do with this boring flat image here. So, semi-palmated sandpiper on the beach pulling a worm. I really like the pose and how sharp and detailed the beak and the worm is there. And even it's so close and such shallow depth of field that the feet are already getting out of focus. And this one actually was shot with my 300 and teleconverter. So, with these shorebirds, you do not need a ton of focal length. I know a lot of people, will go on the beach with like a 600 and add a teleconverter in. They're up in the 800 millimeter range and a crop sensor and all this. And it's like, whoa. Just a little patience and time on the beach, I think, can yield some amazing results. And this is 420 millimeter on a full frame, and this is straight out of the camera. So you can see you can get plenty close with not a ton of focal length. Anyway, now that I'm done preaching on that, let's. I'm going to center it up a little bit, and I'm going to throw it off balance just a touch because I think without that grid there, this kind of feels better just because he's kind of leaning in this way, but the head and like everything else is angling back that way. So a touch more space on this side I think is good. All right, so let's see if we can make this real flat, boring, overcast light do something interesting. So lighten it up. I'm going to kick the shadows up to give me a lot of detail, but then bring the blacks back down for contrast. I am going to punch in just a little bit of saturation here, but not too much. And then I think that's a good starting point to head into Photoshop. All right, so first things first, let's clean this image up just a little. Doesn't need much. A couple of weird, maybe like dust spots down there, and then whatever this little white speck is can certainly go. Oops, it removed my in focus line, so healing brush didn't cut it there, so manually clone that out. And I think that's it for that one. So pretty straightforward there. So now let's start attacking this image. So first thing I want to do is actually kind of lighten up the bird and give it a little bit more contrast in that. Mainly just the upper portion here where the browns are, right? Because I really want to see those a little bit better. Well, actually, I guess the whole bird, because the whites down there were getting a little dingy gray. Could definitely push up the orange legs there just a little bit with some of that. Probably went a little too far there. I'm going to attack that worm in just a little bit with a separate layer. Let's see. I can see the one eye there, but I mean, it's just going to, I can enhance like the reflected catch light in that eye, but I can't even see the other eye, and that just kind of blends in, so it doesn't help too much. Can really make the orange on that beak stand out, and then those little grains of sand will make them show a little more, and then the white right across there is nice. All right, background. Let's see. I want to go more blue with this is actually some water and a little bit of ocean back there. So I want to introduce just the slightest bit of blue tint in that, and I think I'll just do it with a gradient. And I also want to lighten the dark that's happening there subtly. So that I'm just going to paint in with a brush, just right across there, real soft. There we go. Just kind of even that out. This side was getting a little darker too, probably just from vignetting on the lens. I do want to warm the sand up, so let's make that sand a little bit more kind of sand colored instead of that ugly gray. And guess what? It's totally fine if it's the legs and the worm there. What I don't want, is for it to hit too much of the breast of the bird here. There's already some naturally kind of warmer tones happening there. All right, so this is introducing some color contrast in the background, right? It's giving me some warm to cool transition back there, which is nice. And let's go for the worm. So the worm, I think I want to go lighter because it's, well, let's see, the worm is darker than the background to start out with. So maybe I'll leave the density the same, but let's make that worm stand out color-wise. So we'll warm the worm up a little bit color-wise, make it a little bit more red-ish. So let's see how this works. Need a harder edge brush there. There we go. And we'll just kind of work my way right down the worm here. I think I do want to go lighter with this worm, so maybe doing that in a separate layer will help out. I'll make sure I put that underneath the color adjustment so I don't affect the color that I did there. And let's see what this does, because I do think this can help the worm to stand out more. I think, but I'll have to kind of zoom out and see what it does, because right here it certainly is zoomed in this far, right? It's definitely helping that out, and that's certainly way too much on the adjustment, but I'll come back in and lower that in just a moment. Right now I just wanted to give it the full effect, right? Yeah, there we go. So the worm is way too bright now, so now I'll just kind of soften that painting I did there. So we go just a little bit lighter, kind of right in the middle there too. And then this gives me a little bit more kind of red tone there. Subtle, but it's there. And I think that's about it. I think this whole thing could just use a shot of contrast now. So especially on the light end, right? Pop those highlights. Might have been too much. Back off of that a little bit, and let's do it before after. There we go. All right, so now we have a little bit of color happening there, but it still looks natural. It's not absurd. Like, I shouldn't have intensely saturated colors because you can see it's an overcast day, but nothing wrong with getting a little bit more color and tone, and then the contrast is really popping there, which helps to kind of really give this image a little bit of life. So let's save that and compare to the original in Lightroom, which is going to be a lot more dull. All right, where's the original? Let's get to that. There it is. And we'll reset it. So there's the total original straight out of Lightroom. Compare these two. Big difference there. So from that to that, there's the final image. And let's see how long that one took. Yeah, under 7 minutes. Not too bad. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you like this edit.